Hi, Alan here, rvacrossamerica.net. It's June 18 as I'm recording this. The summer solstice is occurring in about 48 hours from now on June 20th. And as I look out my window from the 43 degrees it is outside with light rain falling, there is snow on the hills just west of town, and that snow reaches down to probably about the 6,500-foot mark on the hills. We've had 2 days in a row of snow cover up on those hills, and I almost went cross country skiing. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. I wrote an article on my website, rvacrossamerica.net, and this post is going to be at rvacrossamerica.net/punch list. Well, you can imagine my post has something to do with punch lists, and the headline on my post says, "Buying a new camper?" question mark. You should not need a punch list. Or maybe more appropriately in English, you should not need to create a punch list. You see, there is a widespread view amongst RVers that when you buy a new camper, it's normal to have to create a punch list. I had a conversation with a fellow the other day who has created a punch list of over 75 items, and he was at his wit's end. I'll tell you more about him in a minute. And it's for that reason, and people think it's normal to have to fix a lot of things. So much so that some RV buyers turn to the used market. Now, when I'm working with somebody who's a client of mine in my concierge RV service, my buying service, very often I recommend a used camper, but not because we've gotten past the punch list. The reason is that these things depreciate like nobody's business. In other words, there is so much depreciation in the first 2 years that with the 25s coming out, at this point, it's June of 24, buying a 23 or a 22 could save you a significant amount of money and get you virtually the same product as what's been produced in 24 or 25. But the point to my article, and again, it's over at rvacrossamerica.net/punch list, is that you shouldn't need a punch list. I mean, when I bought my truck, I didn't generate a punch list. I got behind the truck. I checked out a few things that I wanted to check out. I made sure the blinkers worked. I made sure the horn worked. I made sure the lights turned on. And of course, everything worked. And my truck is now 2 years old, just over 2 years old. And the number of issues I've had with it have been near zero. And that is the typical experience, whether you're buying a Ford, a Dodge, Chrysler, Stellantis, whatever they call it these days, or a Chevy. And the RV world realistically should be the same way. And I maintain, and this is what I do with my RV clients, my concierge RV clients, is that you can find campers that don't have problems, for which you'll have to generate a prolonged punch list. Now, it doesn't mean that I always recommend buying new. I don't. Like I said, I recommend buying a used camper because of the depreciation, but there are some people that want a new camper. When I bought my camper in 2017, I bought new. I bought new because it was the manufacturer I wanted, and it was the floor plan I wanted, and it was a new floor plan. It was a new design, and there was nothing used on the market that would suffice. So, I put myself out there and said, this is what I'm going to get. So, a couple of things. I mentioned at the outset that looking outside the window, there's snow on the ground. Well, I'm going to cut away right now and show you a little bit of my video footage that I shot both yesterday morning, June 17, not March 17, not April 17, June 17, and this morning, June 18. So I'm going to cut away to that, let you see what's going on up here in southwestern Montana. And I know some of you are in parts of the country where it's hot and maybe hot and humid. But most of that heat is nothing that hasn't happened before. I had to get a kick out of this. I went and looked at the forecast for northern New Jersey, and they've got excessive heat watches up, and they've got heat warnings posted. And I'm looking at the forecast, and it says Sunny today with a high of 90, 95 tomorrow, 95 the next day. And I'm thinking, what's the big deal? It's late June. That's normal. And I noticed that the temperature each night is forecast to drop under 70. I can remember when I was 11 years old that I was watching a Yankee game and it was about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And they noted, the sportscasters noted that the temperature just dropped to 99 degrees. It had been over 100 up until 10 or 11 o'clock in the evening. And that was in the early 1970s. I draw your own conclusions. Anyway, so let me cut away, take a look at the video footage, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk more with you. Okay, here we go. We're driving westbound at the west end of Anaconda. You can see in the distance where the terrain begins to rise. As soon as it begins to rise, there's snow on them there hills. It's June 17. It's drizzling a little bit in town, so I'm running the wipers. It's about 38 degrees in town, and this is like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's only 500 or 1,000 feet or so above the elevation of town that you start seeing snow accumulating. Really impressive for the 17th of June. We're about to shift gears. We're going to be a little bit further west at this point. And as my note on the screen says, check out the post because that's where I also have some really cool photos of before and after the storm. So we're just west of town. You can clearly see now the snow on the hills on both sides of the road, a little bit to the southwest, a little bit to the northwest. Anaconda's in a valley, so there's mountains on both sides. You can't see the 9,000-foot peaks because the clouds are laying too low. So in a moment, we're going to see a shot from June 18, the next day. Here we go. And the conditions have cleared off a little bit. There's still, of course, low clouds hanging out. It's still cold. It's still in the 30s. And you see snow everywhere at about 6,500 feet or 7,000 foot elevation and above. And it's still there. It's still there. It's really amazing what's going on. We are supposed to go back into spring on the 19th and then maybe even feel like summer on the 20th. Who knows? It's weird. So we're going to be back in the video in a moment, but I wanted you to have an opportunity to see what this place looks like a couple of days before summer starts. Okay, so wasn't that pretty cool? I mean, here we are, late June, 2 days till the summer solstice, and I thought there was going to be snow on the ground here, and I almost went cross country skiing. I did go to the webcams that are up at Discovery Ski Area and take a look at what happened. They got 5 inches of snow, but it didn't stick to the dirt. It stuck to the grass. And the dirt surface is pretty much where the cross country trails are up by Echo Lake. There's cross country skiing right near Discovery. And well, the thought was there. For one reason or another, I'm looking at my cross country ski boots. I never put them away. Maybe that was Mother Nature's way of telling me, or the Lord's way of telling me, hey, you may still need these. You may still want these. And we came close, but not quite. All right, so I got contacted by a fellow the other day who bought an Alliance fifth wheel. It's one of those giant, oversized toy haulers that I wrote about in my prior post. And if you go to rvcrossamerica.net, you're going to see a earlier post about frame flex, frame failure. And he may be a victim of that based on what he was describing to me. And I write more about this in my post that I'm referring you to from this video. And that's rvcrossamerica.net/punch list. The bottom line with his camper, and I elaborate more on it in the post, is that he made a number of mistakes when he was buying, and I do not blame Alliance for his mistakes. I do blame Alliance for some of the other things that have happened to his camper. And if you are thinking of buying a camper and you want to talk with me about what to get, and you're thinking or you've read or you've heard that Alliance is one of the better brands, call me first, please. Talk to me. So he got this camper and it's got leaks. It's got water damage. It's brand new. He bought. It had been on the dealer's lot for over a year, which is a red flag right there. Not because it hadn't sold, the market's not strong, but sitting on the dealer's lot is just not a good place for a camper. And again, I get more into that in the post. But it had it had leaks. I think he knew about it when he was doing his walkthrough. He closed anyway, which is on him for doing that, which means he went into the back office and paid for it and got the key and hooked it up to his truck and drove off. At which point, in most states, you own it. There's no buyer's remorse. There's no right of recidivism. There's no out. And the RV industry has been really good about evading lemon laws. So there's no way of getting around it. Once you own it, you own it. And unfortunately, as I tell my own clients, once there's water damage, toxic mold is not far behind. And when I mentioned that, he mentioned that he's got some respiratory issue, which he's been told by doctors may very well cost him his life. Talk about an expensive purchase. So it bothers me that this camper needed, at least from his own identification, 75 items that need fixing. And I go into the big three. He rattled off a few more, and I can't recall what they were now, and I haven't been in touch with him. I haven't heard back from him. Last I heard from him, he was in Indiana, and he was hoping to meet with the CEO of Alliance. Didn't have an appointment, and they didn't know he was coming. So I don't know how that went. I imagine probably not real well. Most of these RV manufacturers are real good at insulating themselves and avoiding reality, avoiding the situation that they themselves created because they built something. I think it all comes down to quality control. But I detail in greater detail in the post, rvacrossamerica.net/punch list, what it is that RV manufacturers need to do differently. And I'm not saying all of them. There's again that perception that they're all like this. They're all terrible. Well, they're not. There are some RV manufacturers who are far better than others. And again, that's who I work with my clients to help them understand this is why I'm recommending this camper. And I'm not giving you specific names right now because it matters what the category is. Are we talking about Class B vans? Are we talking about Class C, Super Cs? Are we talking about Class A's? Are we talking about towables? And if we are we talking about bunk units or not? Are we talking about travel trailers, fifth wheels, fifth wheel toy haulers, all different categories, truck campers? So all of that matters. All of that absolutely matters. The bottom line is, at the very least, no matter how well or poorly they build it, no matter how good or cheap the parts are that they use, the materials are they use, if somebody was standing at the end of the assembly line in the factory and checking these things, at least occasionally, they would, and with some teeth so that he could say, nope, it's not up to spec, turn it around, send it back. Uh, People who are buying these campers would not be in the position that they're in. And I feel for this guy. I named him Sam, I believe, in my post. It's not his real name. Um, but you can see more detail there. You'll get the whole story. You'll understand what it is that Sam shared with me and what it is that I have to say about the whole situation. Again, I get into greater depth. I do better in writing than I do in videos. Hopefully, I do okay in videos. By the way, please, if you're seeing this on a video channel, YouTube or whatever, um, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, subscribe, leave a comment. It helps with what's called the algorithm, which bottom line means it helps the video channel send the video uh, company, YouTube, if you will, send out more, hey, maybe you want to check this out because other people like it. And that'll spread the word on my videos. I would like more people to know about these things. And I hope my perspective is worthwhile. Please let me know below. And if you're seeing this on my website, again, rvacrossamerica.net/punch list, then go down to the bottom and leave a comment. I read them all. I respond to them all. It will not go unnoticed. Please, it will not go unnoticed. Anyway, you shouldn't have to create a punch list. That's really the bottom line. And that means you should be dealing with the manufacturer, even if you're buying it secondhand. If it was built well in the first place, if it went through quality control in the first place, then buying it secondhand is going to be a lot more painless than buying something which was barely stapled together in the first place and starts falling apart the moment that the first owner pulled it off the curb. So talk with me if you're thinking of buying. Talk with me, even if it's something you want to do on your own. Um, but if you think my service would be right for you, my concierge service, hey, that's over at rvacrossamerica.net/buy sell, BUYSELL. Anyway, Alan here, rvacrossamerica.net. You have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, whenever, late spring, early summer, midsummer, whenever you see this, have a good day. Take care.